What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the OddsShopper channel. Today, we're talking some college basketball. It's March the 20th, second day of playing games, along with some CBI NIT action. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We also have a limited time deal for you from our sponsor, Bet365. This is available to those of you in Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, Louisiana, Indiana, Arizona, and North Carolina. If I just said your state, there's some money coming your way. What you're going to do is click the link in the video description below for Bet365. Make your first deposit of at least $10, at least a $5 wager on any team, total, market, whatever you want. Whether it wins or loses, you are getting $150 in the form of bonus bets. That's huge with March Madness coming up tomorrow. You can use that however you'd like. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 to play, 18 in Kentucky. And again, limited time. Take advantage of this, especially when we have the best time of the year coming up over the next 4 days. All right. Yesterday's action was pretty good. Mercifully saw Virginia's run come to an end. Virginia's run. Colorado State got them. Wasn't even close. We also had some pretty good action in the NIT. We were on Boston College and the under in that game. Barely went over 100 points. Just didn't have Devin Carter for Providence, which was mainly the crux of the entire handicap. I ended up adding Howard against Wagner. Wagner just shot the ball like crazy in the first half. Howard actually made it competitive down the stretch. Nearly pulled the upset, but ultimately their comeback was not enough. Wagner ends up moving on. They're going to get smashed now. And then we barely saw the over come in Xavier, Georgia. That one was pretty close. But we turned the page. 2 more playing games today. We're going to talk them both. Then we'll get into some of the greasier action with some NIT CBI. But let's move forward. The first game we have today is a play-in. Colorado takes on Boise State. This is a fun one. Colorado's a team I've been very optimistic on recently. Ended up losing in their conference tournament final to Oregon, who gets the automatic bid. Happy to see both these teams in this spot. Boise a little bit disrespected, as was most of the Mountain West. They get sent to Dayton here. 3-point spread in favor of Colorado. The reason Colorado's the team I'm not really betting against at this point, and I'm not sure I will, obviously lines pending in future matchups, but this team is awesome, and they haven't been healthy all season long. Cody Williams missed double-digit games for this team. De Silva missed 3 games. Hammond has been out. You've seen other players miss a game here and there for this Colorado team. And despite these injuries, they still are ahead of Boise State in almost every single efficiency category. Offense, they're about 20 spots better. It's 25 to 46. Defense is razor thin margins. Boise at 36, Colorado at 39. We'll dive into that more in a second. And then rebounding, Colorado plays a tall lineup. They're 9th in rebounding. Boise State is 17th. That's despite being 178th in effective height. So they've been able to win through effort, which is going to be extremely tricky against this Colorado team. But let's go through resumes quickly before we get into some advanced statistics. Boise's played a pretty tough schedule. They're in the Mountain West. I still have some questions about their higher end wins that came outside of conference. It's a tough conference. So, their wins against Colorado State, Nevada on Nevada's floor, like San Diego State, New Mexico. They basically have traded wins and losses with the top teams in this conference, which is what it is. It needs to be respected. But in non-con, they dropped games to opponents that I think are a little concerning. They lost to Butler by double digits. That's not a tournament team. They lost to Virginia Tech by 7. That's not a tournament team. Lost to Clemson by double digits, who's in the field. Their best wins in non-conference, there's a St. Mary's victory. They were basically playing a home game there. They were closer to home at least. And I don't know about St. Mary's. Their best wins basically against Gonzaga with a weak schedule around them. So I'm not sure I buy the overall top end of that St. Mary's team. They beat San Francisco in the same conference. That's not a tournament team. VCU, not a tournament team. North Texas, not a tournament team. Lost to Washington State. So I don't know. The resume is questionable for Boise. And then Colorado, you do have to parse when this team was injured, when they were healthy. They do have some higher end wins, and they played some teams in this conference competitively. The thing I just come back to is the talent gap between these teams and then the efficiency metrics. So diving in a little deeper, outside of height, Colorado, this team is awesome. Excellent scoring inside. They'll have a decided advantage in the paint. not just in rebounding, which I think is a little wider than the numbers indicate, but they're 52nd in interior scoring. Boise State 256 defending that area of the floor. And if you don't have Cody Williams, De Silva playing up to their abilities, Eddie Lampkin, this team shoots threes extremely well. They just don't shoot a lot of them. This team is 4th in the country in three-point percentage. KJ Simpson, he's over 40%. Cody Williams is over 40%, believe it or not. Javon Hadley is at 43%. Luke O'Brien, 39%. De Silva, 38%. That's 5 players that shoot at least 38% from three. And then Julian Hammond, if he ever comes back, 40% shooter himself. He's not going to play in this game, but man, this team is absolutely loaded with three-point snipers across the roster. Yeah, they got tripped up against Oregon. It's going to happen from time to time. But you parallel this with Boise. They have one three-point shooter over 40%. No one else is above 35. So you are ceding just a shooting edge in this matchup as well, with Colorado taking the advantage here. So it'll be first one up, Colorado minus the 3 to get things started in these play-in games in Dayton. The second one up, we get to the greasy part of our programming sooner rather than later. Grambling State takes on Montana State. I don't know about these two teams. This is similar to the matchup we saw last night. I don't know that they belong here. Let's start with just who these teams are. So Montana State plays in the Big Sky. They win the Big Sky as the 5th seed. I don't know about this. They went through Weber State, who was the 4th seed, Sacramento State, the 10 seed, and then Montana, the 3 seed. 2 of those 3 games were within single digits. The number 1 team, Eastern Washington, lost in quarterfinals. The second team, Northern Colorado, they lost in the quarterfinals. So you didn't even see Montana State go through the better teams in this conference. They got quite lucky with who they played. And just overall power rankings wise, Montana State is 231 in this conference. Northern Colorado, 195. Montana, 158. Weber State, 153. Eastern Washington, 147. Far from the better team in this conference coming in. But what I'll say about this is Big Sky is a decent conference. This team has actually played some relatively decent competition. They beat Cal, who's 121, and then they knocked off, traded wins and losses with a lot of teams in this conference. As far as their losses go, they do have a egregious loss. They did lose to Rocky Mountain, who I think is a D2 school. I'm actually not sure. But they played Washington, double-digit loss. Seattle, who's a good team, that was a 3-point loss. And then they did play Long Beach State, 6-point loss. Long Beach State is in the field. So it's been a pretty good level of competition for this Montana State team, and a lot of that just comes from playing in a decent conference. From there, Grambling, they play in the SWAC, which is among the weakest in college basketball. They were the number 1 seed in the SWAC, beat Alabama State by 6, Bethune-Cookman by 8, and then Texas Southern by 9 to get here. The highest ranked team in the SWAC is actually Southern. They're 265. Grambling's 267, so I won't split hairs here. No problem with them getting in. But this team doesn't have any wins against top 3 competition. That's quadrant-wise. They're 0-4 quad 1A, 0-6 quad 1 altogether. Didn't play a quad 2 team. 0-2 against quad 3. Their best wins are both against Southern, who's 265. They did step up in competition a couple times and got slaughtered every time they did so. They lost to Colorado by 30 points. They had a crazy game against Iowa State where they lost 92-37, got demolished by teams like Troy, Dayton, Washington State, and Drake. None of these were even remotely close. Florida, they lost 96-57. So every step up in competition, slaughtering. Their only good wins coming in conference against Southern. So basically, you don't have any wins against top 200 competition. As far as the stylistics go for these two teams, the far better shooting team is Montana State. Effective field goal percentage is 45-74. This Montana State team can actually shoot the ball pretty well. They're 42nd in three-point percentage. Their problem is they don't defend. But lucky for them, they're facing a Grambling State team that ranks 306 in offense. So you don't have a team on the other side that can score. Your defensive woes probably aren't going to be tested here. Neither team rebounds. And then Montana State can really shoot. So this isn't a spread I love. You can find a Montana State at a -4. I think that is a decent mark. Not great, but I am willing to at least sprinkle this, especially because it is highlighted by our tools on OddsShopper. So I'm actually going to show you that right now. We have a lot of really cool new stuff coming out on OddsShopper, and some of it just got unveiled yesterday. So I'll show you some of this as we go into this part of the program. What you're going to see on the screen right now is our live odds page, which now has ROI trackers, ROI calculators. Not only is it giving you the best place to find these bets, which in this case, if you scroll to the side, you can find -4s with a -108. They're available at Pinnacle, Sugar House, Bet Rivers, and it actually has the highest edge percentage of any bet in college basketball tonight. It's a -2% edge. That comes with the territory when you're betting sides and totals. Largely, these are negative EV bets. We believe we can find edges in some of the data and then knowing the teams really well. So that's why we continue to talk about them. But just statistically, this is one of the better bets you can make in tonight's games. And just scrolling down the screen, you don't really see anything under 4.5% outside of this Montana State, which gives me more confidence in this altogether. If you want access to these tools, we have an incredible promo going on right now. $1 for a week. This ends tomorrow when games tip off. So this is your last full day to take advantage of this. You're going to have access to all these tools, and it's not just the live odds screen. We have all sorts of market-based approach tools that help you find plus EV bets. The player props one, you will find a lot of positive bets there. NBA, NHL, whatever you want to play. It's available for that $1 in the link below. And now it's all included in one package. Our Discord, that's where we, myself, Ben, all the experts talk about these tools, how we're using them, the teams are playing, and it's interactive. You can ask questions. All that can be found for one price, and it's $1 right now. So just can't talk about this enough. Promo code is madness. Take advantage of that if you'd like. All right, let's go back to our little graphic we use. So the next, we're going to go to the NIT and the CBI, guys. So this is definitely going to be a little bit greasier. And the one thing I'll say about these games, we saw it yesterday. We don't know who's going to play for some of these teams. Sometimes they're motivated, sometimes they're not. So take this with a grain of salt. I honestly don't hate just waiting until close to tip-off to take these games so you have accurate injury reporting. With that said, let's go to UNLV taking on Princeton. I personally think the wrong team is favored here. UNLV is a team that I'm willing to back in this spot. They play in the Mountain West. It's just vastly different level of competition when compared with Princeton, who plays in the Ivy. This UNLV team has actually played real teams, won real games. They beat Creighton by double digits at a neutral site. They've traded wins and losses with the better teams. They hold wins over New Mexico, Boise State. They actually beat New Mexico twice, but Colorado State's on here. These are legitimate teams playing each other, and UNLV holds legitimate wins over these players and these other teams. Whereas Princeton, playing in the Ivy League, is one of the weakest schedules in the country. Their best win came in their opener, I think, against Rutgers. They also beat Duquesne, who won their conference tournament to get into the field. But otherwise, this team hasn't played anybody really of note, Furman and Drexel being the two next best teams that they hold wins over. They lost to St. Joe's, Cornell, and Yale, as well as Brown in their conference tournament. Efficiency metrics don't even think they're the better team, despite having this crazy record. UNLV, they're 74 on offense and defense. Princeton's 42 on offense, 170th on defense. Rebounding is close between these two teams. Don't see there being a decided advantage one way or the other. And actually think UNLV might be able to just out-rebound Princeton altogether. Effective height, UNLV's 152, Princeton's 338. So this rebounding gap, what does it look like when Princeton steps up against better teams? I'm not actually sure. And then from there, the athletes for these two teams just vastly different. When you look at UNLV, this team has legitimate players, legitimate household names, whereas Princeton's just not dealing with the same kind of athlete. Deaton Thomas is awesome. The guy's amazing at getting to the line, amazing two-point percentage. Caleb Boone is strong inside. He's a top 200 offensive rebounding rate, a top 50 block rate in the country. The only problem is this team doesn't shoot threes really well, so sometimes they can live and die by that. That's evidenced in some of the wins and losses they've traded. But UNLV at the dog price of plus 3.5 makes a lot of sense to me, and that's one we will take here. Last one, accidentally clicked to this screen earlier, but we'll talk about it in depth. IPFW takes on Bowling Green. Another one where I think the better team just isn't favored in IPFW. Neither team plays a great schedule. IPFW in the Horizon, Bowling Green in the MAC. When you look at these two teams, I do think IPFW has played a better level of competition. This team played San Francisco early in the non-con. They played Pittsburgh. Both of those were losses, but they have solid wins over teams in the Horizon League, trading back and forth. Bowling Green, you look at their resume, they also haven't played anyone really of consequence. I think their best win is outside of the MAC, that is probably against Arkansas State, maybe Lipscomb. But you're looking at a lot of teams that are outside the top 200 or 300 on their non-conference schedule. The only team they played in the field outside of their own conference is Western Kentucky. They lost by 7 points. That was on a neutral floor. Diving into the efficiency stuff, the better shooting team is Purdue-Fort Wayne. It's not close. 47th in effective field goal. Bowling Green is 278th. This team shoots threes really well. They're actually 46th in three-point percentage, which is a very solid mark for them. The only thing I'm worried about is this rebounding gap and height gap. So Bowling Green is much taller, 30th in effective height, and then IPFW is 349. However, this team doesn't play well on the inside, just scoring-wise. Bowling Green, 191 in two-point percentage. So yeah, they can rebound, but they're a terrible shooting team, and they're not good at scoring on the inside. You have a better shooting team, IPFW, that will shoot over the top of you, shoot those threes, play at a fast tempo. I'm willing to take them at a dog price here. That'll do it for us today. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back tomorrow breaking down all the tournament games. So if you like that, stay tuned. Otherwise, if you have any questions, comments, reach out to me on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Leave a comment below. It helps a ton. Until then, good luck, and we'll see you next time.